believe we have our next, thank you, Trisha. We have our next beautiful guest. So I'd like to introduce her to you. She is the author of Be the Soul Mate You Want to Attract. Couldn't be more perfect timing with what we've all been going through and listening to. And is also the creator of Dating is Such a Drag podcast. She's entertained and she's inspired millions in interviews, and she has on my interviews in the past with her extraordinary midlife love story, where she turned all that she learned in marketing and sort of laws of attraction and understanding that more, but put those skills on herself to actually call in her husband overnight. She's a certified life coach. She helps singles step into their sovereignty so that you can live your happiest, most purposeful life and attract a partner who supports and elevates you. A thrilling warm welcome to you, Jeannie.
Oh, it's so good to see you again, Christina. So happy to be back.
Oh, I'm so pleased to see you. And you're always so bright and colourful, and we just have such a joyful interview together that I really like to call a chat because we want to pull things out that can help everybody. Um, where do we start? Let's start with your book, because I love the title, Be the Soul Mate You Want to Attract. And how do we step into our own sovereignty to be able to attract that person that's vibrationally a match for us, and that we are vibrating in the right way too?
Absolutely. I loved what you were talking about leading into this segment because it really is about aligning with the vibration of having what you want, the faith, the belief. When I finally shifted my belief system about what was possible for me,
Yeah.
and I aligned with my vision and my truth, just like you said, and I really believed if I just let go of the how and the when and just allowed it to come to me, it would come. I didn't realize it would be the next day, but that's really the key to it. And I wrote the book to show people, I kind of reversed engineered what I did and I put it all in the book. How did I
Mm,
do it? What kind of resistance did I release so that I could let go of all of my old patterns and step into my happiest, most purposeful life, which is what I call sovereignty?
yeah. And does that mean everything about your life? You're stepping into enjoying just walking down the street, enjoying your career and work, enjoying friends, everything.
Yes, and it's exactly as you said earlier. It's not about you have to heal everything, you have to fix everything. For me, what I help clients to do, and I think you do as well, is to get clarity on living your life for yourself, for your purpose. Many of my clients are empaths and they have a tendency to live for others a little too much. So we bring that power back in, that vision back in, reclaim our story,
Yeah.
figure out what does our best life look for us, and just be pointing in that direction and moving towards that so that when you, as you said, are walking down the street, when you are showing up in your career, when you're showing up in your friendships, you have healthy boundaries, you have joyful expectations. Not every day is perfect, of course,
No.
but you are taking claim and taking responsibility for your happiness so that you draw in somebody just like that, of that vibration. They're not there to
Mm,
fix you, they're there to support you and elevate you and allow you to do the same.
yes. Yeah. And what did you have to let go of? What was your main resistance to being with your soulmate?
I was ambivalent. I was ambivalent about being in a relationship.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of it though. I
Mm,
was more consciously aware of the lack of a soulmate. So I was focused a
mm,
lot on scarcity,
hmm.
not having my soulmate, needing my soulmate, but not realizing there was a part of me that was, because I had been a caretaker in previous relationships, it was always a power imbalance, or I was doing 90% of the work. and the
Yeah.
other person was very low effort, not there for me. Because of that, I just had a lot of limiting beliefs about what was possible for me. And I
Mm,
needed to really understand that that was me creating that manifestation and that I had to
right.
take it back. And I had to change my mind about what was possible, that I could have that partner. And what did that look like? What did I need? What were my boundaries? What
Yeah.
did that look like for me? And that was the biggest part of the work, is getting that clarity and owning that and not selling myself out.
What I really want to pick on as well, because I think so many will relate to this, is, and I'll say it in the way that I've sort of heard it beneath the words, is you had experience of a certain type of relationship that wasn't obviously fulfilling, it wasn't right, but it was an experience. So in some ways it was, let's call it fact. Oh, so that's how they are. And that isn't what I want. So, but I can't have what I want because that's what I've experienced. Was there that in it as well?
Yes, and I think a sense of worry underneath the
Yes.
surface that I was going to lose myself.
Yeah.
Because the truth was, underneath everything, there was always the sense of, if there are two people in this relationship and the other person's in need, I always sold myself out for
Yeah.
the other person's needs. Always. And so that's why I work with clients to figure out, what is your best life? What do you
Mm.
really need in your life? What parts of your life do you not feel happy or in control, reasonably in control, not in your sovereignty? What does that look like for you? And just taking steps towards that. That's what I had to do. I took
Yes.
2 years off after my last relationship, and my relationships always felt like a second job with no benefits.
Oh, yeah.
A lot
Tough.
of work, very little back. And I had to accept and own that I was investing in those kinds of relationships. And I realized the hard, cold truth, for me
Mm.
anyway,
Mm.
was that part of me must have wanted it that way.
It is a tough one. And I know that we spoke about this earlier with Jennifer. And it's like, who's the common denominator first? Yep.
Guilty.
Yeah, we all, it's us, it's
Yeah.
us. And what is it we're getting from it that is feeding us? And and it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes we're fed the negative, but we're so used to the negative that the negative feels normal and right. And
Hmm.
anything better than that is like, oh, that's a bit scary. That's too good to be true. So it's a real shift we have to make within ourselves. And you said you made this shift. It was like an overnight. I mean, I know you've worked on yourself, but there comes a point
Yes.
to that point where suddenly it all comes together and then he's there.
That's exactly what happened. It all came
Yeah.
to a head one night. I was checking my dating profile once again, and I was continuing to attract really young men who just wanted to have sex.
Yeah.
And enough of them had come in that I actually asked two of them without judgment. I was very just, hey, I'm just curious, what brought you my way? And the feedback I was getting was, well, you look really confident. You look really fun. You're probably not going to want to have my baby, because, of course, I was midlife already.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to marry me. That kind of thing. They
Mm.
were so I realized my profile had been written for, because I was middle aged. I saw myself as having a strong, intimidating personality. I've been told that. And I was 300 pounds, 23 stone. So there was a belief still there that I had to try to appeal to as many people as possible in order to improve my odds. My dating
Hmm.
pool was a puddle, tiny puddle. So I realized that in an instant, that it was scarcity thinking that had
Yeah.
created a profile like that. And then my marketing brain kicked in and I said, your brand is not authentic. It's halfway there, but you really need to lean into authenticity. You need to really be brave about what is quirky about you. What are the things you're hiding or holding back
Yeah.
because you're afraid some people are going to judge you. I leaned into
Mm.
those things and I put it all out there in the profile, including my agenda, which was I do want to get married.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What do I want how do I see my future with someone? So that that person could see that picture and decide, could I potentially see myself in that type of a future with someone?
Yeah.
I leaned
Was that,
into
did
my
you find
interest.
that, was that quite scary to put your, yeah, because you're revealing your truth now, aren't you?
Yes, and because so many people had told me, don't do that, you'll look like a gold digger or you'll look needy. Don't talk
Yeah.
about your fascination with drag queens. A lot of straight guys can't handle that. Let them like you first and then show them that later. And I just was so tired of that.
Yeah, because they're pretense, isn't it? It's not, it wasn't you.
It wasn't me. And why do I have to act as if these things are things to be tolerated? These are
Mm.
things that
Mm.
should be celebrated. And even if I only find one person who wants those same things or who really likes me just the way I am, that's okay. And
Yeah.
I know that seems like common sense, but if you think about it, most of us are not doing that. We're usually presenting ourselves out of fear,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least a little.
Yeah. And
So,
putting on a way of being just to protect ourselves. Yes.
yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I rewrote my profile and I lit some candles. I took a glass of wine and I just said, I just want to lean into the deliciousness of, I do love myself. I've worked hard on that.
Mm.
I like myself and I deserve these things. And honestly, if there is no one out there that would want me this way, I'd rather be alone. I do have a delicious life, but I knew I could feel that shift. I felt in every fiber of my being in that moment when I posted that profile. It's already here. I just have to let
Mm.
go of the how
Mhm.
and the when. I felt utter peace, like I had done everything I can, and now I just had to let go, stop
Yeah.
trying so hard to make it happen, and just let it come to me.
And what I'm also hearing is that is letting go is a funny one, and I've struggled with that. It's almost like saying, here's a pencil or pen, you can let go of it because you've got it. But if you haven't got it, how do you let go? But what you did, and the way that I'm hearing it, and I want everyone else to hear it as well, and we'll clarify it with you, is once you were clear on who you were and you were showing it, you you were that person. That's when you can let go. Because
Yeah.
now you are being you, truly you. Okay, I can let go of that. I am that person.
Hmm.
Now it's out there. Now I can let everything else happen. And that's
Yeah.
when something magical happens, doesn't it?
I mean, literally the next day. And it wasn't just my husband who popped in, it was also several other men. And it was a huge shift in who was coming in, like
Really?
literally
Yes.
overnight. So that's how I knew I was really onto something and that I needed to speak up about it
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people, especially once they get into midlife, who start to believe in scarcity.
Hmm.
And that scarcity leads to a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble, a lot of selling ourselves out, a lot of
Heartache.
fear, heartache, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, that moment was also about, I think when you were talking earlier about alignment
Yeah.
and having that faith, to me, it's aligning with your inner being, that part of you that is unencumbered by trauma, limiting beliefs, that godness, whatever that is for anyone, however anyone defines it, but that part of you that is so powerful and is such a powerful creator that we forget is there. When we
Yeah.
tap into that person, that's to me is when that magic happens because we're all powerful creators.
Yeah. And you mentioned something about, is it authentic secret sauce? And I think this is what you're talking about. Is
It is.
yeah,
It is. And in the States, we call it flying our freak flag. And sometimes when I'm overseas, they're a little like, oh, I don't know about that, Jean. It
yeah.
sounds a little scary, but it really is becoming unapologetically authentic.
Mm,
Reaching that place where you're comfortable enough with yourself that maybe there are times where you're frustrated with yourself or you judge yourself. No one's perfect. We're all evolving and growing every day, always will be.
yes.
You've reached that critical tipping point where you're comfortable and love yourself enough that you don't sell yourself out and your vision,
Yeah.
and you trust yourself in the process.
Yeah. And you're willing to say no. No, you're not good enough. No, you're not what I'm looking for, as opposed to,
Exactly.
thank goodness somebody likes me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very
Um,
that.
how, and I think this is, we sort of answered this because I loved something I feel strongly about is being our authentic, being truly you is how I put it, being truly
Mhm.
you, um, which is where you are able then to have the inner confidence of being yourself, no matter what, which is radiates your own beauty.
Mhm.
How, I mean, do you feel it's about understanding oneself enough and then trusting oneself to be, or are there things that we have to work on to develop?
Well, first of all, I think so when I work with people, it's a lot about what I did. I
Yeah.
reverse engineered it, right? So
Yes.
a big part of it is self-forgiveness. A lot of people I hear when they chat with me, is a lot of self-judgment around, I should
Mhm.
have known better. I shouldn't have chose him. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. Um, a lot of self-judgment. So they need to self-forgive.
Mhm.
Also, look at what are your limiting beliefs. Most of the time, our limiting beliefs aren't even our own. We
No.
inherited them from what other people told us.
Yes, that's the big one.
Um, Getting your life in order, taking responsibility for creating the life, understanding you are a powerful creator. You don't have to wait for that soulmate for you to
Yeah.
create that life, and start taking steps towards that feeling more powerful. Like, for example, a lot of women will say to me, I want someone who's wealthy because I don't want to worry about money again. And I said, well, I would just be careful with that, because if you're focusing on not having enough money, in law of attraction, we tend to attract people who also have that, and it's not really
Yeah.
what we want. So maybe at least develop some more empowerment around money, even in small ways. That will help.
Mm, mm.
Also, learning to trust yourself in the process, and a lot of that is trusting yourself to be vulnerable. A lot of the times we're afraid to be vulnerable, and we're projecting, without realizing it, defensiveness.
Yeah.
And men in particular, in straight relationships, men, but despite what women have been told, men do want a strong woman.
Hmm.
But the key is they want a woman who feels they can be vulnerable
Yeah.
and need their partner. And a lot of women don't realize, because of how hurt they've been, that they're projecting a defensiveness, I don't need you kind of vibration, and
Yeah.
are
And
afraid to receive.
in a way, you're also saying, I think, that men will like confidence. And you can also be confident in your vulnerability or confident in things that I remember when I first owned my, let's say, insecurities. I had a deep insecurity and I started to own it. So when I met my soulmate, I thought, I'm going to have to tell him about my deep insecurity. And I did, but I didn't do it needy of him to replace what I felt I was still sort of working on. It was to say, look, this is me, this is what's happened to me. And actually, I still have some remnants of, it was a sort of emotional insecurity. And he just looked and drop jaw.
Yeah.
I can't believe, because I came across so confident. which a lot of us
Mhm.
do, but it's to own also the parts where we aren't confident. So I wanted him to realize I'm not all confident. I had this other part as well, but I confidently owned it.
I love that so much. I
Mm,
do, because that to me is a big part of becoming more adept at allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And that is
yeah.
once you've developed your boundaries enough and you have stood up for them enough, it's amazing when you start to feel that confidence from doing that and seeing how it transforms your life and how
Yes.
people treat you better and you attract more positivity into your life.
Yeah.
It teaches you that you can trust yourself. You are strong. You can be vulnerable. And one of my favorite, so one of the things that was quirky about me is that I love drag queens very, very much. I
Yeah.
watch all the drag shows. I go to drag shows, and I put pictures of me with drag queens, and I noticed a lot of men suddenly not coming in. But then the ones who did come in were like, "I'll take you to a drag show." And one of the reasons I love drag queens is because RuPaul said something really amazing related to this topic.
Yeah.
On every season, there's usually a drag queen who's very, very talented, excels at every challenge, but they always have this sense of putting on this perfect act.
Yeah.
And RuPaul will say, "This work is extraordinary, but we still don't know who you are. If you just
Mm,
allowed yourself to be vulnerable and to show that vulnerability, that's when we'll fall in love with you."
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
bet when you told your husband that, that just melted his heart.
It really did. It really did. And because I did it from no neediness, it was so beautiful because the way he responded was just the most loving.
Hmm.
It probably all the compliments I'd have ever wanted to hear came from him. I was like, I can't believe I just told him about the insecurity thing. And he's like, I can't believe it. You're just the most beautiful person. You're just lovely inside and out, and the strength you've got and what you've gone through. And it's sort of almost describing this lovely person that was like, wow. Yeah, it just helps that connection as well.
Yes, and it's part of your authenticity.
Yeah,
And
she's back. Oh, I'm not sure if I can hear you yet. Yes, I
can you
think
hear me now?
yes, I can hear you now.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. Zoom just kicked me out all of a
did
sudden. And
it? Oh, yeah, it just froze. It's so annoying, isn't it?
yeah,
Um,
well, that's the beauty of live
this
events.
is
I'm so
live.
sorry, guys.
No, we weren't going to move on until we had you back. And I really didn't want you to move on until you could talk about your offer for everybody here. And we will drop the link, but if you can share it because it's lovely because it's fun and it's about the thing that we want to get over, your biggest love block quiz. If you could tell us
Absolutely.
about that.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I made it back. So I developed a Discover Your Biggest Love Block quiz, and I designed it so that people could, who have a high sense of, I've worked a lot on myself, I don't really know what it is. What's the problem? I've done everything. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
This is designed to help you figure out what that thing is. What is the main thing that's still in the way?
Mm,
Give you some tips on how to start shifting it. And if it feels aligned, there's an invitation to join me for a free, no pressure consultation.
yes.
And I think it's really a great step just to start getting you on that journey of releasing that last bit of resistance and creating that vision and aligning with it and taking that inspired action that'll make it come into your life.
Beautiful. And you know what? Just as you were off, I think what's really hit home, and I'm so pleased, is how when we own our vulnerability, we start
Yes,
being authentically us. And actually, that is so beautifully powerful if we can do it without the neediness.
exactly. I couldn't have
Yes.
said it better myself. I think that's really the key, the secret sauce for not only for people really connecting with you on a deeper level, but people trusting you because they
Yes.
really sense this person is exactly who they say they are. I don't have to guess. There's no games. This is just a real authentic connection and it's
Yeah.
just delicious.
Yeah. And isn't trust such a lovely thing as well? And we
Mhm.
forget about in love and soulmate love, trust is actually really powerful. It's so beautiful when you trust each other. There's something,
Absolutely.
yeah, deep about that. And we
Mhm.
forget how important trust is really high up there.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Is there anything else you would like to just say before we let you go?
Just change your mind about what's possible for you. People
Mm,
told me that my possibilities were really small.
yeah,
Expand that and ask the universe for more. You can absolutely have it.
yeah.
If I can, anyone here can.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for that, Jeannie. That's beautiful. And thank you for getting yourself back on and just in time for your gift. And we will see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye for now.